Hello, and welcome back then to episode 4 of JACKOCAST. Bit of a long wait. I do apologise since the last episode. It is what it is. Some of us have lives, would you believe? But as I said on one of the previous episodes, it's not about me. It's about today's guest, and that guest in particular has is a day one driver, has one Cup Series win to his name, 11 in the Kia Series, 12 wins all time, which puts him second in the all time win standings, and is also, with the exception of myself in terms of races attended and commentated over, is the most experienced driver in the field. Sits first all time with 145 race starts. It can only be the Netherlands' favourite child is Youri Haselager. Good evening to you, Youri. How are you?
Good evening, Jacko. I'm fine, thank you. You mentioned the most experience, but I don't necessarily would say that it shows, but whatever.
You know what I could have said? I could have said the Kia Series champion from season 3, but I totally forgot. But it
It's
is
not
what it is.
important, mate.
We'll come on to it anyway. Hold your horses. Um, Mr. Haselager, as with all of these podcasts, I ask the same question to get them started, just to get you talking about yourself. How did you start off and find yourself in JACKOCAR? How did you find out about the league?
How did I find out about the league? Through some people I met on different racing games prior to this. I got into ILR, and then when that stopped, I obviously got the word that there was this guy who ran ILR 7 or 8, I don't know,
Both.
back in the day in a different point system, that he was going to do this thing where he's going to like fully combine two very different disciplines of racing together. And then I got interested, and I think I messaged you about bumps and runs and stuff before I made the decision about joining or not. So yeah, that's how it went.
I think one of the very first tweets that come out of JACKOCAR, the league, was an old F2 clip with, I think it's Arthur Leclerc beating and banging in Abu Dhabi with one of the other F2 drivers at the time. And I think you quote tweeted that into a direct message to me, and then said, "Is this
Is,
definitely
is
going
it
to be allowed?" I'm sure it was
is
you.
it is it Charles Leclerc bumping Alex Albon out of the way in the hairpin?
It might be Charles Leclerc. I thought it was his brother, but his brother might not have been born by then, because we've been about some time there by now. But yeah, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Actually, you DM'd me, but like a lot of people, originated, sorry, from ILR. Uh, so my babies, if you will, I brought you all across with me.
Well, I never raced under your guidance, so
No, but you're an ILR baby, which makes you my baby.
if you want to call it that.
I do. And so you can call me daddy. Anyway, earliest memory then. Earliest memory I have of you looking back through my research is the obvious commentary from Owen and Jess in Azerbaijan. We asked Jess what her view of that was when she was on. What do you remember of that particular moment?
Um, for the highlights reel of the 100th race, I had to look back, of course, through all the races, and then looking back, I noticed that I was fighting for a podium in that race. I didn't even recall it at the time, and I didn't remembered it before researching that as well, that it was for a podium. But I was, yeah, well, we just passed the castle section in Azerbaijan and going through those fast left-handers. And I'm like, well, I need to get her between me and I think it was MK Bourne chasing me down. So I thought, like, well, if I can get her in between me and MK Bourne as soon as possible, and I saw a gap, I went down the inside and she just shut the door. So yeah.
And that was, I must admit, I didn't realize it was for a podium.
Yeah, no, me neither.
But that was more remembered for Owen's commentary, that one.
Great bit of commentary.
The best. That was Screechy Owen as well, back in the day. The next point I've got here, I have you down as, I mentioned it in the build up to you as well, ever reliable. So most starts all time combined. I've got in quotation marks here the super reserve. But where does that commitment come from? I mean, 145 starts. I said you're only second to me, but the majority of mine has been like commentaries more than anything. I think I'm on like 167 now out of around 175, 180 races. But obviously, the league, the calendars are based around me generally. So for someone to have all that free time available, where does that come from? Because that is amazing commitment.
I think it comes from the way you were raised and principles and what do you consider as important. Like I was always raised with the things when like once you commit to something, whether it's sport or work or school, you just keep showing up and keep doing the thing because that is the commitment you make towards something. It's a agreement that you make together. That like in this case, I'm going to race in your league, and your league is on Thursday at 7 p.m. UK time, and I make sure that I am there at that time. And obviously, sometimes some things come up, whether it's family or friends or something else, which is important, and you miss a race. But other than that, it's usually I don't have anything on Thursday night because Thursday night is JACKOCAR night. And
Yeah.
then later on, it became Tuesday, of course. But
Which leads me nicely onto the next point, actually. Um, where was I going with that? So, I mean, unless you can think of anything in the early part of your Cup career, I've just got down here. You moved from Cup to Kia, and that's where you really began to find your feet in the league. I've always said this is the hardest league to win in, purely because of the shithousery and how the rules will, you know, bum certain drivers. But the way, I think, because you've been here so long, you're almost used to it, and you always find a way to get towards the front, particularly in the Kia series now. But now, more often than not, as you go back to Cup, you're up there again. So, have you like worked out how to do this league, if you will, or is it a bit of luck involved?
a bit of both, obviously. But some driver once said, I think Schumacher, that you create your luck. No, I guess this is the experience as well. Like I caught up to the game plan real quick because if I'm not mistaken, in season 2 in Belgium, we implemented a NASCAR slash IndyCar rule where you weren't allowed to pit under safety cars anymore.
Yep.
And I recall that as being one of the better qualifyings they had in those first 2 seasons. I think I lined up third or fourth. And like with Matt, like Newgarden Matt, who was racing in that season, I think still, he and I, together with I think someone else, caught on to how to play that game with the safety car traps and stuff. So we pitted really early, and then as soon as we exited the pit, pretty luckily, a safety car came. So we just caught up to the back of the pack,
Yep.
and pretty much a safety car ahead of the rest of them. And I think that's really important. Like when you get both the experience of like 140 races, I think you said.
145.
You, yeah, then you try you get to understand the game and the way you play it, and it's just making sure that you like get your strategy right, but also pick a good joker. And it's more than just picking a track where there's a really short or long or a really long pit lane compared to a really fast pit straight maybe. And then instead picking a track where the tires last and you're maybe a little better at. So like this season in Kia, I chose Belgium because I'm rather strong at it.
Yeah, I know.
And in
I wonder who finished
and,
second in that race.
some washed up league owner, I don't know.
Yeah.
And in Cup, because of the late call, I decided to put all my opportunities at Austria, which is also not a bad track, but also one which is quite easy on the tires. And I guess that's just the way you get like successful, quote unquote, in this league. Because you mentioned that it is the harder league to win, but I think it also offers a bigger chance at the slower drivers, which is like one of the main reasons why I signed up, besides the fact that it was like a new and interesting thing, is that with the rules, especially from season 2 onwards, it gave the opportunity for slower
New race
paced
winners.
drivers,
Yeah.
yeah, slower paced drivers to fight with the big boys, if you want to call them like that, with the really fast guys like the Arnouts, the Khalifas, Kyles, Jamies, Bens, just those kind of guys. And it's quite interesting to find yourself in that scenario.
Yeah. The two names you mentioned there, Arnold and Khalifa, were exactly the two I was going to look back on, actually. You think, especially Khalifa, what he achieved in those first 3 seasons, he still sits, well, level on all-time wins in third with Arnold. Um, Incredible stats. But of course, that was in the early period of the league where it was where the faster drivers, if you will, did better. But certainly that rule change and the way that the safety car rules have adapted as well. It's, if you look at the three fastest guys in Cup at the moment, you got Ben Iceman sat on 7 wins. You've got Jake O'Sullivan sat on 6 wins. Kieran sat on 6 as well. How long have they been in the league? And the fact that they're still not even double figures yet, despite how fast they are. So you make a very valid point on the how open the league is. So
Yeah,
lots of people get their wins, definitely, but it is still very hard to win.
yeah, and I'm if I'm not mistaken, I think it was last season that across both tiers in the first 6 or 7 races, we had in each tier 5 or 6 different race winners. So it just shows how A, competitive this tier is, and B, how much more than just pace you need to win.
For sure. I mean, Cup Series, I'm just looking back, is currently on a streak of 6 different winners in a row. That's the current streak. Last season, I think we went 12 in a row before. Yeah, it must have been Ben Shaw. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different race winners in a row. That was last season. So, yeah, definitely. Um, Covering moving from Cup to Kia. Oh, have we? You moved from Cup to Kia, you found your form. Yeah, we did cover that, didn't we? Because it actually worked out really well for you. You ended up in season 3 winning the championship. Again, like with most championship 5s, you won it on a penalty. Everybody seems to do that. But Youri Haselager, it was your second attempt in a championship 5, and you won it. Memories of that championship campaign? Did you deserve to win it or not, in your eyes?
I think if you look at um, the entire season, it was Leroy's to win. If you look at the race itself and the track, it was Leroy's to win. But then here again comes in the strategy and the way the race played out. Because if I recall correctly, I played it a little bit safer than Leroy, and I think at one point Leroy got caught out by a safety car, and then in a later stage I got caught out by a safety car, so it leveled it a bit. A bit. I got some wing damage under the safety car. I had to fix that and got somewhere behind him or ahead of him, and it's in hindsight, no, that wasn't my race to win. That was Leroy's to win, but then he just made a mistake too many on the track limits.
And it was nice that he let you win it on track as well. But then going into season 4, arguably your season to win it, and then it comes
Um,
down to final lap in Miami, and
no,
then
not
no,
no, not my season to win. No, Leroy upped his game again, and he got 4 or 5 wins that season, which is pretty insane. And I think I'm not sure if that's ever happened in Cup, where there's like one driver won 5 races. He was in the mix for many other races as well. But the way the race played out, I think it was the opposite of the season before. I made every strategic call correctly. And in the practice I did on the hardest tire, I could do like 26 laps of that track. And then we were on the intermediate tire and it dried up at the end. And I made all the right calls again to be in the right position at the right time. And I had a massive lead. And Leroy was on the dry tires closing me in at the final stages on the race. And then, the luck turned around.
Yeah. So, how based on what you're saying, in my mind, it does square it off. You know, how I see it, he should have won season 3, and you should have won season 4, but swap
Yeah,
that
maybe
around.
so.
You
Maybe
got
so.
either way. There's 2 trophies in the Haselager household, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, I guess. But like the way the race unfolded itself is it was interesting to say because the atmosphere within the house was was a funny one.
Expand on that for us, because I've seen it before in, obviously, I don't know if you know, but Kia's not my tier. In the Cup Series Championship 5 chats, everyone will be happy and excited, nervous, whatever, going into a Championship 5 race. And then at the end of it, after all that build up, the stress of the race, you'll get one guy who's ecstatic and 4 will be really depressed. What's that experience like versus your brother, who is not only in the same party as you and group chat, but is also, you know, in the next door room?
Yeah,
How do you handle that?
for season 3 it was quite easy because we were just both going at it, we were fighting, and he just had a penalty, and that was it. I had the knowledge of just following him home, but I also had like some overspeed at some point. So I wanted to win it on track, and at some point it was enough, and then you just follow him home, and that's the way you win. In season 4, though, Leroy was so much quicker, but decided to take so much risks with tires and strategy and being on the right tire that he managed to find himself on the back foot, and he had to fight his way through the back and a massive deficit. And like with 10 or 15 or 12 or so laps to go, he started making these kind of jokes in the party, saying like, "Oh, I hope you crash. Oh, I hope you get a penalty. Oh, I hope you have something go wrong." And then someone crashed out. He's like, "Oh, that's the wrong car that crashed." And oh, that and that. Going into the last lap on the main DRS straight, like the first DRS straight that you get on in the second sector, entering that braking zone there, just I think like 200, 300 meters before he says like, "Oh, I hope you crash. I hope you crash." And then, well, as if the racing gods were listening to him, then at least, I
Yeah.
got a puncture. And Owen spotted it like immediately after it happened. He shouted like, "Puncture, puncture!"
Yeah.
And Gareth followed me for the entire lap, and I'm up to this day I have no idea how I only hit the wall once, very slightly, but with a rear tire puncture I brought the car to the finish line. I have no idea, but as soon as it happened, I shouted, "Well, you're in for some luck because I just got a puncture," and he went silent. Because for the entire thing, he was very vocal about hoping that, in a joking way, he says, about hoping that I would crash or I would have some bad luck or that the turns would table, or how you want to call it. And it happened, and he was silent. And you don't see it on the stream because Garrett was following me, but he slows down from the final corner and he's like, "Well, what do you want me to do? You want me to wait up?"
You
And at
do
that point,
see
I'm just
this
not going to
actually
say,
right at the very end. Yeah.
yeah, but they don't catch up on what's happening. He's celebrating his win or something by going slow. I'm not sure I think they said something like that. But like it was very yeah, like at that point, what do you think? Your closest rival, who has been vocally in your ear about hoping that you crash out, is like for like 10 laps, and then it happens. And do you
Yeah.
want to congratulate your brother, or do you want to just like punch him in the face and say, "Well, fuck you"?
Do you think that was almost a feeling of guilt when he goes silent there? He's saying all this stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
actually
100%.
happened. Yeah.
100%, because part of him hopes it happens, but also part of him obviously hopes it doesn't happen. And then as soon as it happens after that, all that he says, and he's like, "Oh well, fuck, that's some stuff that I should not have said."
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and we move.
I'm just disappointed that I didn't get my pit stop in before the safety car, because otherwise You're talking to the man who would have been champion.
you could have been there. But then again, that's strategy. That's the risk you take.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I knew
and
what I was doing, so and it didn't
yeah,
pay off.
and the tires on this year's game are a bit harsher. But last season you could pit on lap 5 or so and go to the end of the race on a set of hards.
Yeah, of course we got rid of that rule, so you can't pit now until
Which I'm
you
still
know
not a
this.
fan of.
No, but
No,
you still turn up every week, so yeah,
the best shot at winning against the big guys.
absolutely. The next point sort of backtracks a bit, but how is the relationship with Leroy normally? Obviously, the Championship 5 stresses will change that a bit, but normally, what's it like in day-to-day life?
Well, just casual, nothing special. You're brothers, of course. So sometimes when you're arguing and you have like two different standpoints, it collides a bit. It's a bit of friction, but I think that's normal for brothers. And other than that, it's just fine. We go to races together. We just went to the Spa 6-hour race a couple of weeks ago, which was fun, which was fine, and that's the kind of stuff we do from time to time. We sometimes play games together. Bit less the last couple of months because there's just not that much to play. Like Call of Duty's become a bit boring, and Formula One is, well, at the end of its lifespan, in desperate need of a new game. So that's a good thing it's coming, but like it's just, I guess, normal.
Good to hear. Backtracking a little bit from the Kia C5s there, I've got down here your first Cup Series win. Currently only Cup Series win. It was very nearly 2 the other day.
Yeah.
What was it like just finally getting that first Cup win? I know, like many others' first wins, it was inherited. In your case, in quite spectacular fashion, because Corey decided to take out 3 or 4 cars. So you got it like that. But, everyone's first win is a bit iffy. What was it like to win in the Cup Series for you? Because, sorry, to add on to that, because you're quite vocal about the guys in the Cup Series are another level. Yeah,
Absolutely, they are. Because if you're just going to look at lap time, and just for the sake of like making my life easy, I'm going to take Ben. Ben is roughly, depending on track, between half a second to 1.2 seconds a lap quicker than me if he gets on it all the time. And that you'll see that after like a green stint, he'll be like half a pit stop ahead of me. There's no way that I would be able to beat the likes of Ben or others on track. And in that case, there's no way that I was going to beat Red Matt, Jamie, I think it was Jordan involved, and another one of which I don't quite know, but I wasn't going to beat them. But purely based on good strategic calls and good decisions and with pit stops, I found myself in P5 with 7 or so laps to go before it all happened. So, yeah, initially I thought there was going to be just a time penalty, and I rather quickly got outside of that time penalty window that I thought was going to happen. So I thought it was just going to be another P2 at the end of the day. And then later on I heard it. It's a bit disappointing to get your first win like that, because you'd rather just win it on track where you just know that you've won straight away. You can celebrate. But no, it was good. It was fine.
good stuff. Of course, the Joker in the Cup Series this season, you almost won Austria. Saudi Arabia last week, you almost won that. So you're knocking on the door more often than not nowadays.
Yeah, I guess last week was it's frustrating.
You don't want to admit it though, because my next point says you're going back to Cup full time only. But that's to take that as a compliment, because you're certainly top 10 in that Cup Series field. Not just on points at the moment, but you're up there.
Guess that in that midfield, like B8 down, I guess that's like a really close field. If you want to compare it to the Formula One midfield of this season, I guess you can compare it to that. wouldn't necessarily say that I'm like top 10, but like as I said before, like I usually play the cards right with strategy and get myself in a strong position.
If you look at 8th down, so in regular points, you are 8th at the moment. There's been 3 drivers with less points than you win races in the Cup Series this season. So you're in the fun zone, definitely.
Yeah, like
So what is
well,
it?
some of those had them under questionable scenarios. So
Isn't
I arguably should have it on another questionable scenario as well. So guess it levels out.
isn't everything in JACKOCAR questionable and rigged and whatnot?
Well,
Doesn't stop
guess
30 odd people coming back every week. That's all I say. So it must be good for something. My next point on here, I have. There's not really a point. It's more, what do you think? So I've got favourite and worst moments in the league. So if you could pick a couple of each. Yeah, favourite and worst moments in the league.
I guess favorite is hard to pick by from 3 positions,
Go on.
3
Let's
things.
hear more. Hear more.
I'm gonna start with the worst one because that's a plain obvious one. It's getting a puncture on lap 26 out of 26 or 27 out of 27 in a C5 race, whilst leading comfortably because the guy you was chasing you has a penalty as well. So yeah, that's not great. I can tell you.
I can
Pretty
well
neat.
imagine.
Pretty neat. So yeah, great moments then. I in no particular order. Which was great. We had a throwback race in Kia Series. I think it was season 3, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not entirely sure. It was in Italy, and prior to the race, because the race before the week before I missed Monaco, and prior to the race, I jokingly said to Connor, who I've come across on track many times before in some questionable fashion. Sometimes it was my fault, sometimes it was his fault. But we, for some reason, whenever we come across each other, there's always this kind of tension, I guess. But we were teammates back then, when we were still teams. And I jokingly said to him, like, whenever, if I'm behind you and you're ahead of me, you're already through, so you might as well let me through so that we get both of our team guys through to the playoffs and get that done early in the season. And with 2 laps to go, or with a couple of laps to go, we got a safety car. With 2 laps to go, we go green. And out of lap mode 2, I overtake him into the lead, and he plays like one of the best defending roles I've ever seen. Because I got a 3-second time penalty, I've got to make 3 seconds somewhere, and he plays the best defensive role against Quinn and Niels.
Yeah.
And another one, but I'm not entirely sure. But like 3 guys he holds off. I think it was Gareth involved in that as well. So it has to be season 2 then, I guess. And he just holds them off, and I win by like a 10th or so, which was like so incredible. And it was in the throwback livery of the 2004 Ferrari as well, which is Schumacher's final championship car, which is a really great car. The other one is obviously the Cup win, because as you say, it wasn't really a feeling of finally, but in the end of the day, if you look at it, it is finally getting that win on a very high level in amateuristic esports, if you want to call it like that.
Oh, hang on. It's the pinnacle of esports, this is. Come on.
The pinnacle of amateuristic esports. And you know, it's one thing, and it's great to win races against people who are similar pace to you, but it's another thing to win races against people who are quicker than you. And there was some controversy, of course, and there was some people were taken out. But at the end of the day, then there were also some quicker guys behind me still. And I wouldn't say that I outraced them, but I did outsmart them. And then the other one, and the final one, is of course that winning that Kia Series championship, because it was at that time in 8.5 years of racing, the first drivers' championship that I won.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought you had like some. Yeah, I thought you had some championships from like way back in the day, but
nah, constructor championship here or there, but all the other ones were like runner-ups, like 4 or 5 runner-up titles.
So it's nice to finally get that one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Good stuff. Next point I got here. Any rivalries in the league? or rivalries
MK Born.
I'll let me finish. Or any rivalries that have come from other leagues, or you've taken to other leagues. So MK Born, good start.
MK Born. If MK Born checks all those 3 boxes.
Good
So I
enough.
remember an ILR 4 race in Russia where he put me and Matt in the wall multiple times, which was great. That was a great race. Absolutely amazing. Other rivalries. Well, against Leroy, I guess you could say, was a rivalry in Kia Series. Not so much in Cup these days, because you find him struggling with the adaptation to full or no traction control. So if he gets the hang of it, on a good day he's like a lot quicker than me, not even bothered fighting, and then he gets some shit races, and I pass him and I beat him, but like that's only because he struggles with the traction. So that's a rivalry, and I think lately it hasn't been that much of a rivalry, but Connor.
Yeah.
Connor's been like, we've had some rivalry as well.
Of course, you and Connor. Yeah, we've already touched on. You could have won in Saudi Arabia this year. Connor could have won in Canada, and that links back to your rivalry with Mike here. Of all the people to win an ART, I use quotation marks here. Why did it have to be Mike? For the league?
Why did he have to pun me into turn 1?
I'm not here to discuss that. For the league, it was brilliant that Mike won that race. It would have been brilliant if Connor won that race. But I remember listening back to your stream, actually, and you're like, oh, anyone but Mike.
Yeah.
So I can confirm that's definitely a rivalry. I think that's the one that sort of runs deep into team speed, isn't it?
Well, now, without putting the blame at someone, there is like no denying that Mike has been sent to the stewards quite a lot with whether it's our people involved or others.
Yeah. I admit, I've not seen him in the stewards room recently. He's been good.
Nope. Since Canada, I don't think he's been involved in anything.
No. I'm sure he'll change that this week as we approach Mexico. But I mentioned team speed there. It's taken nearly 40 minutes to, but Youri Haselager, owner of Team Speed. What does that entail for you as team owner, running in different leagues and whatnot? Basically, what do you do?
Not a lot.
Okay.
To be fair, the team runs itself. We're just a group of mates having fun together. And there is a specifically for myself, there is a massive part in which I or we as a team could improve, and that's the social media aspect. But on the other hand, I don't want to be like any other team. For example, ERT is very clear in that. They have those race day tweets where they just add the driver and then say which race they're in. I don't like that simplicity and that not necessarily easygoingness about it, because it still takes effort to gather all that resources and know who's driving where and when. But it's not like you look at, like, for example, Andretti Autosport or Penske in America. They have multiple teams across multiple disciplines, and whenever they do something, it is because a race day tweet or a results tweet. It is because you're interested in knowing what the drivers of your favorite team has done in a discipline you might not follow. But on like an amateuristic level of esports, it doesn't really appeal to me that much. Those kind of things. So it could get some improvement. But on the other hand, I've got some good admins besides me. Like a couple of years ago, we added Ben to the roster of admins, and I'm very happy that he's joined us because he helped us with graphics and general guidelines in terms of like social media stuff, but also decision making. And so it is, yeah. Just like to summarize it, the team runs itself by just us being mates having fun together.
Yeah, Ben actually come into the JACKOCAR admin side of things as well. I think at the start of season 4, 5, something like that. and he's made a difference for us as well. So very useful man.
Absolutely. This year's Kia Series standings and stuff like that looks really great.
Yeah. If only the Cup Series could have that much input.
Yeah, well, never change the winning team because those standings and the cutoff lines and the rosters and everything, it's easy, but it's tidy.
Yeah, and so simple but effective to put it
Yeah,
into English for everyone else.
yeah. But it's good to see that Kia gets the one up on something at least.
Yeah, but it is well known that the Kia Series is the second tier, if you will. Although any sort of trials that we do now for like new rules, it does seem to be Cup that is the guinea pig rather than Kia. So, whereas a couple seasons ago that would have been the other way round. But that's an internal thing. I don't want to bore you with that. I've got two more things here. I am going to add another one. We mentioned rivals. What about favourite people in the league that you have raced against or just massively respect?
Uh, the one guy that pops out straight away is Jamie.
Jamie Wright.
Jamie Wright, that is.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where it started, but at some point in our JACKOCAR history, whenever we got by each other or so, we did a little wave around. Like the car just goes left, right, or something, and just like do a little wave to each other. And the thing that I remember most is when I lapped him, or when he lapped me, or something. I don't know. But in Austria, one of us lapped each other, and we just did a little wave. And then a couple of races later, the other one lapped the other one, and we did a little wave as well. And in Spain last season, I was a lap down, and it was the first time ever, besides teammates, that just an opponent decided to drive off track, risking the lead of the race to allow me to unlap myself, which I thought was really great.
Was that at Spain by any chance?
Yeah, Spain. Yeah.
I do
And the
remember.
other great people. Well, there's many guys who are just nice beyond what they should be necessarily, like Khalifa, Arnaud, and then everyone in speed. But I've got like a different connection with those, though I will not name them. But like Arnaud, Khalifa, and I think Casper and Jamie, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm just looking down the list of winners to see if there's anyone that stands out. Michael O'Kk, probably a favourite of everyone's,
Yeah,
isn't he?
absolutely. Just a genuine nice guy. You don't come across him on track much, but whenever you speak him in chat or anything, just such a nice guy.
Yeah. What is the current status of the ART versus Team Speed rivalry? Because that's gone hot and cold and friendly and unfriendly for years now. What's the current state, especially as we're in the playoffs now?
I guess the current state is nothing. Just it's quiet. It's nice.
It's
Just
anyone
nothing
but
at the
Mike.
moment. Nah, I wouldn't say that anything. Like, look, every race, my idea is that every race I go into the race driving on the limits of JACKOCAR, and that is that you're allowed to leave a little less space to people. And then there's obviously like the people you appreciate or you like more. You're gonna be a little bit nicer and gentler on them. But my idea and the way that I go into a race is that I'm gonna use this as a basis, and whenever people try and do me dirty, I'll just put it on a tab, and they'll get one back. And it can be that race, it can be the next race, it can be 2 races afterwards.
You'll
But
remember it.
if I come across you, I'll like, oh yeah, you did that and that and that to me, and I might not leave as much space as I used to. And then yeah, well, Make happens to be on the tab.
He's it's a bit like a Hamlin Chastain.
Yeah, it's full on
yeah.
NASCAR in that case. Like you do me, I do you.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got here, what are your goals looking forward in JACKOCAR other leagues and in real life?
In JACKOCAR, the main goal is to win my final season in Kia and try and get on the same page as Jamie in double championships. actually be a valid double champion though, not that worst guy. Um, and in JACKOCAR, the other way around, it is, well, hopefully get another Cup Series win at some point, and one where I actually cross the line first. Might be on a penalty, that's fine, but like an in-game penalty then.
Yeah.
As for other leagues, I would like to win a normal league, so to say, like a normal points, normal structure.
A
Got
championship,
close.
that is, yeah?
Yeah, championship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got close twice in VSL, but the first season I just made too many mistakes on my own, and the second season the opposition was just a lot stronger, and the competition was a lot more fierce, and I just didn't perform in the same level that I used to. And then in real life, I don't know, man. Just be happy. Doesn't matter if you work in a supermarket or earn $10 million a day. Just be happy with life,
Absolutely.
I guess.
Good way to be. Speaking of real life, is it next weekend?
It is next weekend.
It is next weekend. You come to the land of Brexit to assist with the Championship 5 build-up for Season 7 of the Cup Series. I mean, we got a couple ideas that we're going to use you for. Are you looking forward to that after seeing the Season 6 build-up and knowing what's involved in that?
I am definitely looking forward to it. The one thing I'm looking forward most is just the challenge of keeping a straight face when Garrett's making all these funny moments and comments and like the many personas he's gonna be, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I look forward most.
Oh my God, it was a struggle last year, let me tell you.
Yeah, I guess. And I heard that we don't have like that big of a time frame, so it's.
I think we're going to book 6 hours and then add on more time. Yeah, you'll be amazed how quick the time goes, because the guy that runs the studio, he likes to talk, so he eats into your time. He doesn't give you any time back that you lose through chatting.
That's just, I guess from his point of view, it's just smart advertising.
He's a businessman, yeah. But no, we'll get you involved in that. So Championship 5 build-up for Cup, we are looking at around an hour and a half to 2 hours once again. Not all of that is going to be our faces, don't worry.
Not even 200 races, and we've got an hour and a half again.
Yeah, I know. I said after last season's like, oh, well, we've done our 2-hour build-up that I've wanted to do for years now. That'll be it. And of course, you say that, and then, oh no, we've got to better it. We've got to better it. So here we are.
Better make bloody sure that I'm involved in the C5 then.
Well, this is it. You could be there. You could well be there.
If only Leroy let me win.
I'm not getting involved in that conversation. Mr. Haselager, one last one from me. Anything I've missed that you want to talk about?
You're running out of time, right?
I think you can have maybe 10 minutes.
Cool. IndyCar beats NASCAR. That's it.
Okay, well, brilliant. You had the world at your feet there, and you opted to say that. What a waste.
Facts, mate. Facts.
I know what I would rather watch. But if that is it, we shall round it up.
Got nothing more to add. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful. Well, there you go. That is, however you want to describe it, episode 4 or edition 4. We'll have to come up with a name for this one. I don't have that sorted just yet. But Mr. Haselager, thank you very much for being on JACKOCAST, our fourth guest. Sorry. Sorry about the wait. This one's been in the diary for some time and kept getting pushed back, but we finally got it. Just hope the recording comes out all right.
Otherwise, we'll do it live next week.
Oh, what is like pre-race build up to Mexico? Or next week?
Well, we've got a car ride to kill, so.
That is true. Our ideas are ticking. Well, we shall see. Anyway, thank you very much once again. Your episode should be out hopefully Thursday. This Thursday, that is. So that'll be the 12th. No, the 11th.
Cool.
That's tomorrow. Shit, I best get on with it. Anyway, have a good night. Cheers, everyone.